First and foremost, emotional intelligence is not just about being nice to everybody all the time. Now, there's definitely an element of emotional intelligence that deals with being courteous, being respectful, being kind, being empathetic. Absolutely. But then there's a whole host of other skills that also fall under the category of emotional intelligence that you probably would not think are a part of emotional intelligence. We'll get into that later. I start there because I have an opportunity to go all over the place and deliver sessions just like this to executives, to lawyers, to high-level leaders in different areas and industries. And the number one thing that they think is, if I bring this into my organization, it means that I'm going to come in the next day to everybody wearing hippie clothes, sitting around the campfire in the office place, singing Kumbaya. And we can't afford to do that because there's work that needs to be done. This is the reason why we need to get out of that mindset and understand that emotional intelligence is a much broader idea, a much broader concept. Now, more officially, emotional intelligence refers to your ability to use and manage your emotions purposefully. That's your emotions as well as the emotions of others. Now, if I were to simplify this a little bit more, what I would say is that emotional intelligence is about your ability to be smart about emotions, your emotions as well as the emotions of others. If I were to simplify this even more, what I would say is emotional intelligence is people skills. That's all. You're a person, I'm a person, everyone you work with is a person. How do you deal with and manage that day to day? Now, even that is a very narrow definition, but as we move through this, I want for us again to keep that lens of context in mind so that you can see really how these things start to apply in the real world. Before we do that, we need to understand, why is this important? Why is this something that everybody in this room should be paying attention to? Number one thing, when we think about top performers, and I'm sure all of us in here are either hiring or have hired. How many people right now, by the way, are in the process of hiring right now? And how many have some sort of hiring experience? Show of hands. Fantastic. So it would be good for you to know that 90% of the top performers that you're after are also high in EQ. This is what the research is telling us. This is from various different studies, and it's been published or republished by Forbes, Harvard Business Review, etc. So the next one says, out of 33 workplace skills, EQ was the strongest predictor of success, accounting for about 58% of a person's job performance. How could that be, that over half of what I do in some way, shape, or form connected to EQ? Hold that thought. We're going to come back to that one. The next two are actually very obvious if you're looking at your own experience. We don't need a number. We don't need a stat for it, but the number in the stat is there anyway. And so the next one tells us that employees who had managers with high EQ were 4 times less likely to leave than those with low EQ. So again, go back to your own experience and ask yourself, have you ever had a manager that micromanaged you, that was always on you, that only cared about the number and the result of the outcome, but not really your well-being as an individual, who only asked about what you were going to do and what your output was going to be, but never had any interest in anything beyond that, and who cared about that output not because it would benefit you, but because it would benefit them or something else? How many of us, with a show of hands, and be careful here, because I don't know if your leader is in this room right now or if that person is sitting beside you, so you're going to have to use your discretion here, but how many people at some point in life in the past, right, not now, in the past, have had a leader like that? Just by show of hands. No, that's unbelievable. I don't believe that. Show of hands, really high, if you've had a leader like that, or even a person in your life like that. Okay, so for those whose hand did not go up, you got to get out of the rock. you're hiding under a rock for sure. Or you got to let me know what your secret is that you've never encountered a person like that. I think that that's amazing. So we move on. We take a look at the next one. Again, you can look at your own personal experience, but we still have the number, we still have the research. So it says more than 70% of an employee's view of the organizational climate directly results from their manager's emotional intelligence. Now, on the flip side, how many of you out there have had a leader who deeply believed in you, who clearly valued you as a human being, who took the time to get to know you, who asked questions, who wanted to understand what this career, what this position, what this job was all about for you. They took time to really see you. They understood what your strengths were. They understood what you did well. And they were able to help you see strengths within yourself that you didn't even know that you had. And not only that, they helped you to bring those forward. They helped you to cultivate them. And they allowed for those strengths to work for you and your career. When you spoke, they listened, but they really listened. Like you were the only thing that was happening in that very moment. And they also weren't easy on you. I can guarantee that they held you accountable. And they told you not only what you wanted to hear, but what you needed to hear in order to take things to the next level.